So for tonight's class, we will be starting prone, unless that just doesn't work for you. If that doesn't work for you, start in any position that does work. But fold your blanket as such so that you have some support wide enough that your hips fit. And then lower yourself so that your hip points, the top of your pelvis, those bones are supported by the cushion, but your pubic bone, the base of the pelvis can sort of spill off of that blanket. So you may need more padding or less padding depending on your anatomy. That way you stretch out over this blanket and you can bring your arms in front, the forearms crossed. So I just like hold on to my opposite forearms. And so I'm on the elbow. So I have a little bit of a triangle space here of opening from the armpit to the ribs to the elbow. And then you can let your forehead rest on your forearms. Now, I won't actually stay there because it messes with the microphone. But if you have yourself positioned well, you should be able to completely rest your head on your forehead on your forearms and be super comfortable. And of course, if not, then slide into any position that is. But it's often nice on a rainy day like today to just let yourself fully be rooted and grounded face down into the earth. It's just a nice little earthy way to start the practice. And we'll move kind of slow and flowy and juicy, a little bit of fluid movements to start the class with, kind of incorporating the rain into the practice. But for now, just let your eyes close. Allow yourself to just fully arrive in this space. Noticing if you feel comfortable here or if you feel like you need to make any little adjustments or changes. And let your head just rest heavily against your forearms. And let your neck soften. And hopefully the shoulders can soften as well. Since you're holding on to the elbows, that should keep your arms propped in that just right position. And simply notice what you're feeling, the sensations in your body from head to toe. And notice how the breath is moving through your body. It might feel very different considering that we are compressed in the front of the body. And just notice how the breath feels. If you feel it moving, if it seems to get stuck anywhere, if you seem to have more freedom anywhere. And then after noticing for a few cycles, then begin to deepen your breath. Still draw it deep in towards the belly and feel how the belly and the ribs are pressing into the support of that blanket. And then what is the reaction to that pressing in? Do you feel the breath then maybe finding newer pathways along the back side of the body to expand and stretch those muscles? And then on the exhale, just allow yourself to sink into the support of your mat and your blanket, like you're sinking into the support of the earth. So it's still a slow, deep inhale, just observing the front and the back of the body as you breathe in, and then completely letting go on the exhale. Taking a few more cycles here. And then we'll lift the head, reposition the arms and legs so that we can come into a puppy pose. And you might like to just use your blanket underneath your knees. We will be doing a fair amount of moving on our knees for this first little while. And then once there, find your puppy pose, letting the arms stretch out straight. Maybe the forehead resting on the mat or just hanging in that direction. Now feel how the breath moves more freely into the front side of the body. Maybe moving more freely into the upper outer ribs and armpit area. And then if you like, sink back into a child's pose. Otherwise, stay in the puppy for a few more breaths. And then we'll all come back to the tabletop. And let's create a few hip circles with that right leg. So drawing that leg, that knee up and then out, around and down. Nice, big, exaggerated hip circles. Lubricating our joints before we do a lot of stretching on the muscles. And go both directions. So a few circles one way and then a few circles the other direction. And then extend your leg out long to the right. The knee and the toes are all facing forward here. And we'll take a variation of threading the needle here. It feels nice and juicy and lovely, I think. Let's inhale, sweeping that right arm out and up, maybe even leaning back just a little. And then on the exhale, just exaggerate this movement of threading the needle nice and slowly. You're not going to land with your shoulder, it's just hovering. And then inhaling, we peel open, reaching high, reaching behind. Exhale, threading back and forth a few times. And then the next time that your hand comes back towards the mat, just press into the mat with both hands so that you can launch yourself up to a kneeling position and externally rotate that right leg. So turning it so that the knee and toes are now facing the sky. Arms float out like a T, and we'll take some side bends here. So on the exhale, bring that right hand down to your shin, sliding it down, sweeping the left arm overhead. And then inhaling, return upright. Right arm sweeps overhead, that left arm just comes in front of your belly. So it's a tiny side bend to the left, not very exaggerated. It's actually more core stabilizing there. And then float back down into your side bend. Okay, let these movements be very slow, very exaggerated, like you're taking up as much space as you can possibly take up. That way these stretches and movements get into not only the muscles and the joints, but all of that fascia in between that tends to get rather stiff when the weather's rainy like this. And then the next time that you come into that side bend towards your right, let's let the torso spiral a little so that now you're facing your toes and you're reaching towards your toes with that left hand. And then you kind of unspiral. You stay in the side bend, but you come forward facing. And then you do that a few more times. Spiral in so you're looking at your toes and reaching for them. And then you're looking out front, reaching overhead. That a few more times. And then eventually come back up to that original kneeling position. Come back onto the hands. And then slide that leg out behind you. And then there's two options here. If your left knee can bend enough, just slide your hips back until you're fully stretched with that right leg and fully bent with the left knee. If your knee does not do that, then I want you to come onto your forearms and extend the right leg up towards the sky. It's the same stretch, it just doesn't mess with your knee at all. Now, if you're in this low variation, you could also opt to let the right leg bend, reach back, give yourself a little quad stretch while you're holding here. And then return to that tabletop. And let's start the hip circles towards with that left leg. It doesn't matter which direction you go first because we want to take several circles in each direction. And then eventually let that leg extend out to the left, knee and toes pointing forward. And we'll thread the needle from here. So inhaling, reaching that left arm up and over behind you. Exhale, threading the needle any amount. And then settling into a flow here. And the next time that that hand comes near the floor, just touch down, press yourself off so you can launch up to kneeling, externally rotating that left leg, arms coming out like a T, and then flowing into our side bend. So stretching as deeply as is comfortable over that left leg. And then spinning upright and just a tiny little Side bend with core stabilization to the right. Again, finding your flow, slow, exaggerated movements here. And then the next time that you take your side bend over to the left, hold. And then spiral your torso a bit so you're looking at your toes. You can reach towards the toes with that right hand and then unspiral so that you're forward facing again. Back and forth a few times, getting into some of the little nooks and crannies we don't always stretch. And then eventually spinning back up, letting the hands touch down so that we return through the tabletop, and then taking your chosen variation of that sunbird, whether you come onto your forearms and extend the left leg to the sky, or you sit your hips back over that right heel, extending the left leg long behind you. And then after a few breaths there, perhaps adding a quad stretch on that left leg as well. And back to the tabletop we go. Let's tuck the toes under. And now lift the hips coming into our downward facing dog. You can scoot that blanket away if you were using it. And then either stay in this down dog or take one little vinyasa to keep warming up here, coming into that plank and lowering down into the push-up. Maybe a little back bend or return through a plank and then return to down dog. So we're all back in the same spot. And then we'll bend the knees, walk or hop the feet up towards the hands. Leave the knees bent. Let your upper body just hang from the hips here in a ragdoll. Engage the core. Inhaling, sweep the arms out and up. Exhale, dive halfway down. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, slide the hands down the shin. Maybe the knees stay bent. Maybe the legs are ready to straighten a little more. And do bend the knees. And this time roll up one vertebrae at a time. Once upright, let the arms float on up overhead. And then release them down to the sides. Notice what you feel. And then let's meet at the top of the mat. If you're not there, have your blocks just nearby the top area. And then we'll step the right foot back, finding our way into a warrior, open hipped. So a warrior 2. Finding that comfortable distance where we feel a nice stretch in the thighs, but a little bit of work on the legs. And then lift and spread the toes. Notice how you balance a little more solidly when you don't have your toes, or you activate the muscles anyway. And then gently set the toes back down. Let the arms float out, shoulder height. And then on an exhale, let's crisscross right over left, either giving ourselves a hug or wrapping the palms. We'll take 3 breaths here. With the inhale, allow the elbows to rise. And with the exhale, allow the elbows to sink. As the elbows sink, you may let your whole body sink slightly deeper into the warrior as well. Inhaling, the elbows rise. The body doesn't rise though. Exhale, elbows sink. Maybe your body sinks a little deeper. One more time. And then stay in this warrior, allowing the arms to reach back out like the T. And then energize from fingertip to fingertip, seeing if you can create space in between the shoulder blades rather than compression. With the next exhale, let's turn this into a triangle. So you can grab a block if you need it. Otherwise, slide your left hand down your shin, right arm reaching to the sky. Again, energize from fingertip to fingertip, trying to keep a sense of spaciousness around the heart. And then we'll let that front knee bend, the left knee bend. Slide your elbow, forearm lightly on the thigh. And with the next exhale, we'll take that right arm, sweep it down. So now you're facing the mat. Let your right fingers touch your left heel or someplace near there. And then on the inhale, open yourself back up into this side angle. Twice 4. And then reach that right arm overhead. Maybe slide the right heel further away from you, letting the pelvis sink lower, landing in this stillness here. And we'll spin back through the warrior. Hands find the hips. Either turn, step up to the top of the mat, or send your hands down to the mat and take a vinyasa to get there. Either way, we all end up at the top of the mat. Pause for a breath. And then let's take that to the other side. Left leg steps back. Find the comfortable, moderately comfortable warrior. Lift the toes. So you have to get grounded truly on the balls and heels of the feet. Lifting the toes, spreading them wide, and then gently set them back down. Arms sweep out shoulder height. We crisscross left arm over right, either hugging or wrapping. So 3 breaths here. The inhale, allowing the elbows to rise. The exhale, allowing the elbows to sink as maybe the pelvis sinks as well. 2 more breaths here. And then hold. Releasing the arms back out into the standard warrior, energizing from fingertip to fingertip. And then tilting our way into a triangle. So using a block or just sliding the right hand down the shin. Reaching up through that left hand, create lots of space all around the heart center. And then we'll let that right knee bend, sliding the elbow, forearm up to the thigh. And with an exhale, bring those left fingers down to maybe touch the right heel or come close. Inhale, sweep back into that side angle. Do that a few more times. Again, no rush here. Just feeling how the different movements affect the body. And then when you're ready, let that left arm reach overhead. As you sink the pelvis maybe 1 inch lower, finding your side angle, and now finding stillness here. Then we spin back to the warrior. Either hands to the hip and stepping to the top of the mat, or cartwheel the arms down, take your vinyasa to get there. Pause for a breath. Notice what you feel. And then let's turn to face the wide edge of the mat. You can place your blocks in front of you as well. I wanted to take our balance pose first. Well, we can still take it facing the wide edge of the mat. In fact, we could use our blocks at the tallest orientation. So we'll take our standing figure 4. So if you prefer, come to a wall, let yourself touch the wall for maximum support here. Otherwise, let's find a bar stool pose, sitting back, bar stool height, engage the core, and then we'll stand on that left foot, cross right ankle over left thigh. So here's the variation today. We'll let the arms stretch out in front, let the bottom sink back and down, back and down. And then if you've got your blocks in front of you and you feel steady enough, slowly reach down and touch your blocks. And then you can scoot your bottom back and down even more, coming more deeply into this pose. And then maybe you stay here with this little help from the blocks, or maybe you bring your hands to your shin or your ankle that you're standing on. Okay, that's just if you want a little extra challenge for a rainy day. Call it the rainy day bonus. One more breath here. And then release. Return to standing. Let your eyes close for a breath. Notice what you feel both in your body and in your mind right now. And then let's try the second side. So we come to our bar stool and we ground through the right foot, engage the core, left ankle over right thigh. That left foot stays flexed, by the way. And then reach the arms out forward or touch your wall and sink the bottom back and down. Maybe stay right here. Or maybe hinge forward, touch your blocks, use them as an aid to help your bottom scoot further back and down, deeper into this pose. Maybe challenge yourself trying to hold on to that standing ankle. Whatever variation you choose, try to find a moment of stillness, even if it's just the space between two breaths. One more breath here. And then release. Return to standing. Again, notice what's going on in your body and what's going on in your mind. And if you're at the wall, come on back to your mat. Have your blocks in front of you facing the wide edge. And we'll step the legs out wide. Let's go into a squat first with the knees and toes pointing to the corners. Hands onto the knees, just shifting the weight side to side, getting deep into the inner thigh, groin area. And then drop one shoulder down in front. And the other shoulder. And then return up right. Send the heels out so all the toes are facing the wide edge of the mat. Bring the arms out and then reach behind. Interlacing the fingers if you can, or grabbing a little strap or an aid there if that's better. And inhale, lift the heart, lift the gaze, feel that upper back arching. And put a bend in your knees, and on the exhale, dive down. As your head just hangs heavily, let your arms be reaching to the sky so it softens your shoulders. Breathe here.
And then release the arms. So they can come down, and now the arms can, or the hands can find your blocks and tower them up to whatever height you need so that your head can be supported. And then just let the hands either touch the floor or your shins or ankles. And then root the heels in towards your earth there and let the sit bones now rise towards the sky. So we're starting to straighten out the back legs. If that bothers your knees or your low back, then re-bend your knees instead. Otherwise, let the legs go more straight. Heels rooting down, sit bones rising high, the head just resting, supported on the block, the neck relaxed, the shoulders relaxed. Now, what's going on with your breath? Where do you feel it moving? And how might that change if you just slightly deepen it? One more breath. And bend the knees if you had straightened them. Walk the hands up to the thighs and then slowly return upright. Walking the feet in together. And again, pausing to reconnect with your breath. And then let's return to the top of the mat. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, dive down, either step back into a downward facing dog or take a vinyasa to get there. Remember, we hold this down dog a little longer so you have time to embellish it, play with it in whatever way your body wants tonight. And then slowly lower the knees down to the mat. And let's draw that right knee forward and sit on the right hip. So we'll land with our legs in a bit of an S position. You could stay here and take a soft pigeon if you like, coming on down to the hands or the forearms, or resting your forehead on your hands. Or if you'd like to play with a new variation of a pigeon, it's called a straight-legged pigeon. You take this right leg, extend it out straight across the body towards the left. So you're on the outside of your leg. Extend the left leg behind you out straight. Both hands come in front here. And then imagine that you could take your left hip point in front,
and roll it around so that it would touch your right inner thigh. Now, that's not possible, but that's the direction I want you going here, so that your left knee and toes can face down towards the floor. So you're in a bit of a twist here already. Maybe you stay right here. Maybe you come on down to your forearms. Or maybe you let the elbows splay apart and you let your forehead rest on your hands or on fists. This is a very deep stretch on that whole outer thigh, especially IT band area that gets so tight on some of us. As you hold here, can you relax your shoulders? Can you relax your jaw? Now, if any of you are super comfy here and want to try one more variation on it, follow along with me. Otherwise, just stay where you are. This turns it into it's called a spiraled twist. So we let that left arm slide out straight in front. The right arm stretches out from the shoulder like a T, and then you put the left side of your face on the mat. Now, whatever variation we all took, let's make our way back to the original, where we have both legs slightly bent and we're just sitting on that right hip. Oh, doesn't that feel nice now? Now to get to the other side, we'll take one little detour. So you just turn to face the wide edge of your mat, bring out the legs into a diamond shape so the heels are touching. Inhale, sweep the arms up overhead. Exhale, hinge forward, take hold of the feet or the shins. Let your low and mid back round here. And then release upright. Now we need to take this to the other side. Let me just lean over onto that left hip. Let the legs be in that curvy S position. You can put one hand on either side of that left knee, and maybe you're good to go here, or your forearms or your forehead reaching down. Okay, if you want to take the straight leg variation today, straighten the left leg first, that foot flexing. Make sure you're on the outer edge of the leg the whole way. And then extend the right leg out long behind you. And then imagine you could roll your hip in so the front of the right hip was someday touching your left inner thigh. We're trying to get that right knee and toes to face downward or going that direction. So this is a tighter side for me. So mine will point exactly the right way. And you either stay on the hands again, or you come to your forearms, or let your forehead rest on your hands. And you just settle in here for a few breaths. Now notice if you're clenching in your jaw or tensing up through the shoulders. That tends to be the more likely area rather than the hip.
If you are tensing, take this opportunity to soften. And then if this is really yummy and you still want more, turn it into the spiral twist. Extend the right arm out in front of you, the left arm out to the left, the right side of the face resting on the mat. And then with the next exhale, we'll make our way back in, letting the legs bend if you had straightened them. And then just sweeping the legs around so you're just facing the top of your mat. You can hold on to the outer thighs and lean back into the back pockets. Engage the core. Maybe stay here. Maybe lift the legs off of the floor. Maybe let go of the thighs. Finding our boat pose here. This pose is a lot of work, so just notice again how your body reacts to this work. Feel the sensations of the effort. And then set the feet down if they're lifted. Roll back onto your back. Let the arms come out like a T. And let the legs just rest straight. Now, we're not in relaxation yet, but I want you to let everything go. So your body and your brain get to experience that intense work for a few breaths, and then intense release for a few breaths. And then we'll let the legs bend again. Let's scoop the knees in towards the chest. And in fact, actually, let's scoop the knees towards the shoulders, towards the armpits. You can still rock a little bit side to side if that feels good. And then ease into a happy baby, taking hold of the feet, letting the legs stay bent. Again, maybe rocking side to side. Maybe as you rock, you let one leg come out straight while the other bends, and alternate that movement with the rocking. And then we bring the soles of the feet together. Use the strength of the arms to press the heels towards the groin. Let the legs simply relax here.
And release the feet. Bring the knees together, still at the chest. We'll finish off with our classic twist on an exhale, letting the knees drift over to one side as you reach and turn the head to the other side. With the next exhale, let's release back on to the back. Pause for a breath here. And then when you're ready, on an exhale, let the knees drift over to the right, or whichever the other side is, reaching the opposite direction. Settling into your twist. And with the next exhale, spin onto your back. Let the feet touch down. And then begin to slide your legs out and let them stretch out straight if that feels good, or let the knees bend. You could place your blanket under your thighs or under your head as a pillow. Find that just right relaxation pose for you tonight. And let your eyes drift closed. Let your head sink into the mat. Soften the skin along your forehead. Soften your cheekbones, the tip of your nose, the lobes of your ears, and the tip of your chin. Let go of any gripping in your throat, your neck. Release through your shoulders, arms, hands, and fingers. Return to the shoulders. Let them release again. Soften your chest, your heart space. Release in between the shoulder blades. And let that release travel into your belly, allowing your organs to nestle back into their spaces, allowing the muscles of the low back to soften. Then that softness travels into the hips, down the legs, into the feet, and into the toes. Allowing your front body to relax into your backside. Allowing your backside then to relax into the support of your mat. Notice what it feels like to consciously let go. As always, feel free to stay here as long as you like. Another 10 or 15 minutes would be a great relaxation if you don't have to get supper ready now. But if you do need to end the class with me, it is time to take a deep breath in. And then exhaling, create a little movement in your fingers and toes, maybe your arms and legs. Eventually letting your knees bend and making your way onto one side. And then pause there, just noticing how the shift in the body creates a shift in your breath, maybe a shift in your mind. And then when you're ready, slowly press yourself up into any seated position. Sitting up tall, bringing the hands to the heart, sealing your practice with your own quiet prayer or moment of stillness. And when ready, slowly opening the eyes, releasing the hands to the lap, re-entering your day. I thank you all very much for joining me. I hope you have a delightful rest of your week. And until next time, I wish you peace.